In this lecture, we're going to cover our textbook chapter 1.9, Addition and Subtraction with Fractions. Two fractions with the same denominator. It's pretty straightforward how we add and subtract these fractions. As long as it has the same denominator, then all we need to do is add, in this case, our numerators. So 3/4 plus 2/4 equals 3 plus 2/4 equals 5/4, since it had the same denominator. But if it doesn't have the same denominator, there's some steps that we need to do. So here's our rule. If A and B and C are integers and C is not equal to 0, then to add fractions, AC plus BC, B over C, will equal AB over C. So just adding the numerators as long as the denominators are exactly the same. Likewise with subtraction. So A over C minus B over C equals A minus B all over C. So let's look at a few examples. 3/8 plus 1/8, they both have the same denominator, so all we need to do is add the fractions, or add the numerators. So 3 plus 1 over 8, so 4 over 8, and then we need to reduce. And 4 over 8 can reduce to 1/2. Let's try another one. A plus 5 all over 8 minus 3 over 8. Now since A plus 5 over 8 is one fraction, and 3 over 8 is another fraction, they both share an 8 as the denominator. All we need to do is add and subtract our numerator as stated. So we can put it under one fraction, A plus 5 minus 3 over 8. And we can do the math of 5 minus 3, and we're left with A plus 2 all over 8. And that's good enough. We don't have to reduce. In fact, we can't unless we break this fraction almost up to the original. And that's not the purpose of this exercise. Let's just run through a few more examples just to get it in our head what the process is. So 9 over x minus 3 over x, they both share the x as the denominator in common. So we can write it under one fraction, 9 minus 3 over x, and the result is 6 over x. Another one. 3/7 plus 2/7 minus 9/7. They all have the 7 in common as their denominator. So we can rewrite it as one fraction, 3 plus 2 minus 9 all over 7. And now we're just going to do the math. 3 plus 2 is 5 minus 9, and 5 minus 9 is negative 4 over 7. Now that takes care of if we have the same denominator, but when we're adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators, it's not so simple. We can't just add the two denominators. It's just not how it's done. It wouldn't make sense to say 1/2 plus 1/3 equals 1/5. It doesn't. If you took measuring spoons and you put it into a cup of 1/5, it's not going to fit. The 1/5 is too small. So to work with the problem, we need to find the least common denominator. This is also called the least common multiplier, so LCM or LCD. I'm going to stick with LCD for now. So the least common denominator for a set of denominators, the LCD is the smallest number that is exactly divisible by each denominator. Let's see it in action. So let's find the LCD, least common denominator, of 5/12 and 7/18. The first step we need to do is we need to factor the 12 and factor the 8 so we can see what multiples it consists of, what it's made of. So 12 is going to be 2 times 2 times 3. Prime factorization. 18 is 2 times 3 times 3. Now they both have a 2 in common, pardon me, and they both have a 3 in common, but the 12 has an extra 2 and the 18 has the extra 3. So the least common denominator is going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So the 2 and the 3 they share, and then you have to bring in the 2 that they don't share and bring in the 3 that they don't share. Why? 12 and 8 both have 2 and 3, but 12 has an extra 2 and 18 has an extra 3, so the LCD is 2 times 3, what they have in common, also times what they don't have in common, times 2 times 3. So the LCD of this problem is 36. So in plain words, 36 is the smallest number that both 12 and 18 will divide into evenly. And that's the whole point of this exercise. Let's get a number that they'll both divide into. And then to add and subtract fractions, each fraction must have the same denominator, which will be the LCD that we found. So there's shared multiples, but the LCD will be the smallest by design. So 36 would work, 72 would work because 12 goes into 72 and as well as 18, but by design 36 is the smallest one, and we want to try and stick with the smallest one so in the end we may not have to reduce that much. So now let's take the LCD that we did for 12 and 18 and add these two fractions together. So they're different denominators. We must find the LCD. We already did. So it's 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, which is 36. We're going to rewrite the 5/12 with the LCD as the denominator. And here's what we do. 12 we multiplied by 3 to get to 36. So we have to do the same thing to the numerator. 5 times 3, will be 15. So our rewritten fraction is going to be 15 over 36. And we're going to rewrite 7/18 with the LCD as the denominator. So again, 18 to get to 36, we multiplied it by 2. So what we do to the denominator, we must do to the numerator. 7 times 2 is 14. So our new fraction that we're going to work with now is 14 over 36. And now 5/12 plus 7/18, let's go back to the original problem, and we're going to use the two fractions that we calculated, the 15 over 36 plus the 14 over 36. Now since they have the same denominator, we can rewrite it as one fraction, 15 plus 14 over 36. So our final solution is 29 over 36. And that does not reduce. So we're good with that answer. Now I'm going to work through very quickly a couple more examples. So if we had 3/4 and 1/6, the least common divisor is 4 is 2 times 2, 6 is 3 times 2. So how I like to do it is if I line it up, whatever they have in common, I just bring down. So I know it's 2 because they don't share that 2. So that comes down. 2 and 2, they share that 2, so that's going to stay as one of the 2's. And then 3, they don't share, so that has to come down. So the least common divisor, 12. And now we're going to rewrite each fraction. 4 to get to 12 was multiplied by 3, so what we do to the bottom, got to do to the top. 3 times 3 is 9, so our new fraction is 9/12. 6 to 12 is multiplied by 2, so what we do to the bottom, do to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. Now we can add the fractions. 9/12 plus 2/12 is 11/12. Let's run through one more with subtraction. 7/15 and 3/10. 15 is 3 times 5, and 10 is 2 times 5. So we need a 2, we need a 3, and we need the 5. Least common divisor, 30. We're going to rewrite each of the fractions. 15 to 30 is times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. 10 to 30 is 10 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So our two fractions are 14/30 minus 9 over 30 equals 5/30, but we can reduce this down to 1/6. Then the nice thing is to add or subtract any two fractions, we just follow these 4 steps. One is, if the denominators are the same, we can just add or subtract. We don't have to do any more math. But if they're different, we're going to factor each denominator completely, which means it's prime factorization. And then we're going to calculate its lowest common denominator. We're going to rewrite each fraction as the equivalent fraction, so it has the LCD as the denominator. We're going to do our addition or subtraction of the numerators. And then the last step is we're going to reduce the fraction if necessary. So let's take an example. And I'm going to write these out each step by step. So 3 minus 5/6. So for emphasis, I'm going to put the 1 in the denominator so we can see definitely they do not share the same denominator. Least common denominator, I'm going to factor, that's a 1 and a 2 times a 3, so the LCD is 1 times 2 times 3 is 6. We're going to rewrite the fractions using the equivalent fractions as the LCD as the denominator. So I need a 6 here. 1 times 6 is 6, 3 times 6 is 18. And since 6 was already our denominator for the 5/6, we can leave it as is. Now we're going to subtract the new fractions. 18/6 minus 5/6 equals 13/6. We're going to reduce if needed, and in this case, we don't need to. 13/6 is the lowest and in reduced form. So that's all there is to adding and subtracting fraction. Just remember, if they have the same denominator, just work the math on the numerator. If they have the different denominators, you must find the lowest common denominator and change your fractions into the equivalent fractions. So that's it for this video. Until next time, be seeing you.